Good morning. It is Monday, August the 30th. I'm Shane Celia, and this is the CBC Morning Report. Now, the Morning Report has a breakdown of the latest analysis projecting a surge in COVID-19 cases here in Barbados over the next few weeks. According to senior lecturer in epidemiology at the UWI Cave Hill campus, Dr. Natasha Ford, the data shows predictions for estimated daily cases in the hundreds due to the fast-spreading Delta variant. Dr. Sobers, who is also on the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners COVID-19 Task Force, says while these are just predictions and not set in stone, this could be a stark reality if Barbadians refuse to be vaccinated.
These are scary numbers, and so it's not for the faint of heart. So they are actually showing you could get hundreds of cases per day if we do absolutely nothing. But then it also shows, yes, there are a lot. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So that's what we have to prepare for. But then it also shows something else. These 10% numbers on here, they're showing vaccination. Barbados is more than 10. It's more than 25. We're at 35 or so now. But we have to be shooting for this 50 mark because we can drop these hundreds numbers all the way down to this. We can, if we shoot for the 75% mark, we can again drop the numbers all the way back down to 200 being infected. So with COVID, so with our mask wearing, with our social distancing, with our restriction of movement and last year, we show that we can do this. We can reduce that worst case scenario that really people have to understand it's there. That the government is not putting these restrictions in place because they dislike you or because somebody has an agenda. The fact of the matter is that Delta has caused significant increase in infections throughout the world. It's more than taken over in terms of the UK and so on. But with vaccination, we've seen decrease in infection, but we've also seen, more importantly, a disconnect between the cases and hospitalizations. And that's the most important thing that the vaccination does. So Delta is a game changer for us. And vaccination and our public health interventions could also be game changers in terms of protecting us.
Now, Dr. Sobers will be releasing the results of more surveys right here on the Morning Report. And we are also watching the fact that this could be the beginning of a third wave of COVID-19 for the island. As a result, BAMP is also calling for tougher protocols and measures to stem the steep rise in cases. President Dr. Linda Williams gave her take on the situation.
From a purely health point of view, we're in a critical period where we are pushing to get more of the population vaccinated as a way out, but we aren't there yet. And so the measures that are taken, from my mind at this point, have to fall more in favor of health. We don't want to go to a full strict lockdown as we were before, but we do advocate strong measures at this point because, Shane, the situation is such that if you go slowly, right, eventually you may reach that place where you have to lock down anyway. If you go quickly, it's harsh, but you may reach the place where the end result is such that you can come out of it in a better manner, preserving as many lives as possible.
And Dr. Natasha Sobers of the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners speaking exclusively to me here on the Morning Report. Also included in those measures BAMP proposed were for more restrictions in movement and on gatherings. Of course, we'll have more details right here on our show. Coming up next, 50 new cases in the latest dashboard. We'll give you that and more in our COVID-19 updates. The latest COVID-19 dashboard shows that there were 50 new cases of the virus recorded in Barbados on Saturday. The 24 males and 26 females were diagnosed from 1,886 tests conducted by the West Dos Santos Public Health Lab. Of the 50 new positives, 10 people are under the age of 18. There are now 230 people in isolation. Barbados has recorded 4,931 confirmed cases of COVID-19 since March last year. In a roundup of COVID updates around the world, we hear of Yemen receiving vaccines amidst a surge in cases there, Australia reaching a new daily record yet again, and New Zealand's latest outbreak continuing to grow.
Yemen has received its first batch of Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccines. More than 151,000 doses arrived at Aden Airport under the global COVAX scheme. Yemen's expected to receive a total of more than 500,000 jabs from the US. More than 1,400 Yemenis have died from the virus. And 6 years of civil war has left the country's hospitals and healthcare in ruins. Australia is reporting a new record of more than 1,300 coronavirus infections a day. The outbreak started in mid-June, and there's no sign of it slowing. More than half of Australia has been locked down for weeks as the largest cities struggle to control the Delta variant. Australia is rushing to vaccinate its population and aims to have 80% inoculated by mid-November. New Zealand's coronavirus outbreak is continuing to grow, with another 83 new cases reported on Sunday. The number of infections now stands at 511. 2 people are in critical condition. The entire country is in lockdown until Tuesday.
Grim news right across the world as the Delta variant continues to spread. Let's go over to Pearson now to see if he has some good news for us to start the week right here on Morning Barbados. Pearson?
Good morning, Shane. Good morning, everyone. There's always good news. We love to celebrate Barbadians. One of them is now living in England, and she was a part of a major survey that looked at mental health, the state of mental health in the Caribbean, simply because there's very little data. We'd want to hear from her about her experience in England and also the findings of that survey. In our conversations on CARICOM, we are just mere days away from the start of that Africa-CARICOM Summit. And so we'd want to know a little bit about its significance, who is participating, how it's going to unroll, and a whole lot more in our conversations of CARICOM coming up. But this morning, you'll also get to meet a former employee of CLICO. She's written a book about her experience as well. What can we learn from that? We'll find out when you join me here on Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. And if you're looking for a home, this next story is for you. You'll hear about government plans when we come back after the break. Government has jump-started its plans of getting people into their own homes. The Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, Dr. William Duguid, made the revelation while addressing the St. John branch of the Barbados Labour Party last evening.
This government does not want to imagine that Christmas could come and we don't have a significant number of our brothers and sisters appropriately and adequately rehoused. And we know that it is going to be a difficult challenge. We know it is very hard to get to meet the timelines that we set ourselves, but we continue to work at it every single day. How can we improve it? We've streamlined our procurement program. We're streamlining the contracts. We've gone to Parliament now to access the funds. And now all we have to do is to pull that trigger and get as many of the repairs and as many of the rebuilds done as quickly as possible.
Meanwhile, we hear that the authorities have completed a major project geared at bringing water relief to residents in St. John and other eastern parishes at higher elevations. It's the Vineyard Water Augmentation Project. The parliamentary representative for St. John and the minister in the Ministry of Water Resources, Charles Griffith, made the announcement at that same BLP St. John branch meeting.
On August 14th, we went live in terms of having that water supply move from Groves to Golden Ridge. I'm pleased to announce that Golden Ridge is now full at 13 feet of water. What we're doing is pumping 500 gallons of water in the initial phase through the system from Groves to Golden Ridge. The capacity that we will take from BWA is from the well fees at Groves, is 3 million gallons per day. We're going with 500,000 at this point in time because we don't want to overwhelm the system. So there will be a gradual ramping up of that supply to reach the maximum capacity.
Barbados' renewable energy sector is looking a whole lot brighter as another 39 applications for licenses have been approved. The Energy Minister, Kerry Simmons, says he recently signed off on them. He was addressing the Barbados Workers' Union 79th Annual Delegates Conference.
In the last month and a half, I have concluded 110 such license approvals. When I became Minister of Energy, we were doing 110 in a year. I want you to understand that this is a new vista of economic opportunity in this country. It is a new vista for skills training and skills development. Because we are ahead of the Eastern Caribbean in renewable energy, Comrade General Secretary, it is an opportunity for our workers to be ahead by way of selling their skills and their services into the Eastern Caribbean, who will ultimately be walking this road very shortly.
Mr. Simmons has also agreed to another major proposal from the Barbados Workers' Union to dedicate 30 acres of land, and this is coming from the union, to the generation of renewable energy.
The Barbados Workers' Union's land at Mangrove and Tony's proposal would be ideal for the development of a solar photovoltaic farm. And through the Barbados National Oil Company, we have reached an agreement in principle that a partnership can take place in order for the union to future-proof itself financially so that you will be independent producers of energy and equally be able to sell energy into the grid and earn your revenue, taking care of your costs at the Labour College, and making sure that you are independent financially for as long as you can exist.
Guyana and the United Arab Emirates have pledged to develop bilateral relations. This during the accreditation of the UAE's ambassador to Georgetown. More in this NCN report.
President Dr. Irfan Ali said that there are many areas the two countries can focus on to develop bilateral relations. Both countries, he highlighted, share similar objectives, such as mitigating climate change effects.
Guyana is on a path to transforming its economy to a low-carbon, sustainable development trajectory through the prioritization of the government's low-carbon development strategy. I hope that we can work together to develop our collaboration in this area.
Guyana is expected to construct a diplomatic mission in Abu Dhabi. President Ali said this is a testament to the government's commitment to the UAE. That aside, Dr. Ali assured the ambassador of his government's full support in the discharge of his duties here.
I wish to congratulate the United Arab Emirates on its hosting of Expo Dubai 2020. And I look forward to being in Dubai this October to attend this event.
Now let's look at what is happening with Hurricane Ida. It has made landfall in the U.S. state of Louisiana after its rapid approach to the United States Gulf Coast prompted local officials to urge residents to take cover and open emergency shelters for evacuees. The storm made landfall as an extremely dangerous Category 4 yesterday, close to Category 5, the 16-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. That's when it made landfall. Now, up to last night, over 1 million people were still without power, and there was one reported death. Let's hear a report on some of the early images of Hurricane Ida.
It was being described earlier today as a monster, and that is what it is. You know, you can feel it, you can hear it, and we're hearing and seeing the effects now. We've got things falling off buildings to the side of us, and what you might see here, or what you won't see here, is all of the lights have gone out. We just lost power here. This is the French Quarter, so this is Party Central. We're told the power never goes out here. This is one of the places they always keep on, and it's just gone out. And this is what's happening across New Orleans now. We are hearing reports of areas where they've completely lost power, as expected. We are told in some areas the 911 emergency lines are down, so people cannot call the authorities. And one ICU hospital that is treating COVID patients has also lost power. So now they are scrambling to try to get people to safety, but they can't go outside because you cannot go outside in this. The winds are so strong. We're talking 240 kilometers an hour. The rain is coming down in absolute sheets. I mean, this road is like a river. It is flooding, and there are some areas where they are really feeling the effects. They are really being flooded. And the problem they've got is that this storm is not moving in the way that many had predicted. You see, what happened with this hurricane is as it came in towards the southern shores of the United States, it gathered pace. It went through this rapid intensification process. A scientific way of saying it gets very big very quickly because it feeds off the warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico. It's like pouring gasoline onto a fire. It just makes it go ramped up very, very quickly. But then what happens is the storm moves over land and then it starts to lose some of its intensity. So it hit as a Category 4 and it's supposed to then move inland and start to whittle down a little bit, but it's not. It is still here. It is growing by the looks of things according to the map, because what it's doing is it is feeding off the warm swamp water. Remember, Louisiana, there is a lot of swampland here. Not only that, there is so much rain that is falling. It is also feeding off that water. So that is causing huge concerns, as are the concerns about infrastructure. We have sewage plants that are down because the pumps are not able to drain the water. We have concerns about 2 nuclear plants, which are very well protected, but this storm is intense. The oil refineries have had to stop production. The exploitation of natural gas has had to stop production. And that is before we even get to the subject of people who are trapped in their homes.
Just to give you an update of what is happening right now with Hurricane Ida, well, it has weakened to a tropical storm with still life-threatening flash flooding expected to continue today. So those winds are now 60 miles per hour. We'll continue to monitor it and update you in our subsequent newscasts. A United States drone attack struck a vehicle carrying multiple suicide bombers from Afghanistan's ISIS affiliate ISIL before they could target the ongoing military evacuation at Kabul's international airport. This is according to American officials. There were few initial details about the incident, as well as a rocket that struck a neighborhood near the airport, which killed a child, according to an Afghan police official. The Taliban described the 2 attacks as separate incidents, but residents of the Afghan capital heard only one large blast. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden has met with the families of those 13 U.S. soldiers who were killed in an attack at the Kabul airport last week, as the remains of the fallen army personnel are returned to the U.S. from Afghanistan.
The Pentagon issued a statement saying that it had targeted an explosive-laden vehicle involved in what it believed was an ISIL-K suicide attack in the vicinity of the Kabul airport. The drone hit the target and destroyed it, and there were multiple secondary explosions, which the military said showed that the truck was loaded with bombs or some sort of explosive material. The report did not indicate that there were civilian casualties, but that will continue to be investigated, the statement said. Meanwhile, Sami, a very solemn transfer ceremony took place today at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware as flag-draped case after case after case of the 13 service members killed in the horrific bombing that also killed so many Afghans last week were brought out of a large military transport plane, passing President Biden, who stood silently with his hand over his heart, witnessing them and sort of receiving them back to U.S. soil. Among the dead in that suicide attack at Kabul airport were 5 service members only 20 years old, which means that they had just been born. They were babies, as a matter of fact, after when the first U.S. troops set foot on Afghan soil after the September 11th attacks in 2001. So it was very poignant to realize that these young people had spent their entire lives in the shadow of this war and became among the final casualties in the U.S.'s longest military conflict.
And speaking about conflict, the Cold War, which ran from 1945 to 1989, was a political rivalry between the U.S. and the Soviet Union and their respective allies that developed after World War II. It included the space race to achieve superior space flight capability. Today, however, over 70 countries have space programs, and even private companies are pursuing their own plans towards commercial space travel.
In a modest hangar on the scruffy edge of a regional UK airport lies a new chapter in space exploration. This is Virgin Orbit's Launcher 1, a rocket deployed from a plane that will take satellites to space. And Spaceport Cornwall at Newquay Airport expects this to happen for the first time next June. Getting here hasn't been easy.
It's been a long journey, lots of ups and downs. We've had funding issues, we've had Brexit, we've had changes in administration, we've had a pandemic, we've had this airport almost having to be shut because of the pandemic. So we've had a lot of challenges, but we've overcome all of them to get to the point where we're so close to launch now.
For the first of these, Virgin Orbit will use Spaceport Cornwall as little more than a runway to take off from, but construction is underway to build a facility for loading the satellites. Next will be a hangar for the specialised plane.
Even when this is all finished, there won't actually be that much more to see here. Certainly nothing to rival the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, the United States. But that small footprint is a defining feature of new space, as the insiders call it. NASA, the old giant, is stepping aside. Small, budget-conscious commercial operators are a big part of the future.
The UK is trying to position itself as one of the main players in commercial spaceflight. The government's considering licence applications from several contenders. Besides Spaceport Cornwall, they include Space Hub Sutherland, a vertical rocket launch site on the northern tip of Scotland, the Shetland Space Centre on the Scottish island of Unst, and Spaceport Snowdonia in Wales.
The past decade or so has shown us an explosion in the desire to have access to space. And that means that having launch access, having the ability to actually support launches, is a very potentially lucrative endeavour for any country to be taking part in. To have a spaceport in the UK does make a lot of sense because we want to be a part of this booming space sector.
There are other motivations. Brexit Britain wants to beat the EU and become the first European country to launch a space rocket from its own soil on the continent. Although the coming commercial space era will be much less geopolitical than the first space race last century, international rivalries do still feature.
In sports now, St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots are the only unbeaten team left in the Hero CPL, the 2021 CPL. Last night at Warners Park, the Pats defeated the Guyana Amazon Warriors to take their record to 3-0 and 6 points. The Warriors batted first and posted 166 for 3 off their 20 overs. Mohammad Hafiz top scored with 70. Shamron Hetmar got a half century as well, 52. The Patriots replied with 168 that is for 4 off 19.2 overs to win by 6 wickets. The player of the match was Sherfane Rutherford. He slammed 59 from just 34 balls with 6 sixes. We have the highlights from that innings.
The innings
The CPL takes a break today, but action will resume tomorrow. We'll have tape delayed coverage right here on CBC TV8. Time now for a look at the weather. Temperature right now 27.8 degrees Celsius, feeling a little warmer. The apparent temperature 30 degrees Celsius. It's partly cloudy with slight haze on the outside. Relative humidity stands at about 77%. The barometric pressure is 1012.0 millibars this morning, and those winds have dropped, coming out of the east at only 12 kilometers per hour. You'll see a high tide this morning at 2 minutes to 10. There will be a low tide around 20 minutes to 3 this afternoon. Those seas are smooth to moderate in open water, swells peaking at around the 1.5 meter mark, but they are expected to decrease today. It will be sunny at first here in Barbados, but it will become increasingly cloudy with localized scattered showers, and there's a very slight chance of some isolated thunderstorm activity during the afternoon. And tonight we'll get a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. Today and tonight over the Lesser Antilles, this is the picture. It will be fair to partly cloudy there at first. They will get some of that localized shower activity, moderate to heavy during the afternoon as well. And here's a quick look at some selected international cities in our international forecast. And that's it for this edition of the Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. Mornin Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning to you indeed. Welcome to Monday, August 30th, 2021. I am Pearson Bowen, welcoming all of you to Morning Barbados here on TV8. Those of you watching on our YouTube channel, grateful for your company, and all of our social media platforms as well. Good morning. Welcome. Now this morning we'll continue to be inclusive as we take a look at blind football and we celebrate our achievements at the Paralympics as well. So we'll take a detailed look at that. Also, we meet a young lady who is making it from home, who's using her personal situation to propel her into a new form of business. And her story can inspire some of you who might find yourselves in similar situations. But let's get started this morning by heading all the way across the waters to the United Kingdom to meet our first guest, who is a trained occupational psychologist. She is an HR professional, a qualified mental health first aider, and if I didn't know better, she's my friend. She's Jolene King. Good morning to you, Jolene.
Good morning, Pearson.
Long time no see. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well as well. Girl, I've seen you grow up.
It's been over 20 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally before my eyes. And here you are now in the United Kingdom. How has it been for you over there?
It's been interesting. November will be 16 years that I've been here.
What? That's a lifetime.
Yeah, I've spent the majority of my adult years in this country.
So, but then having to deal with the meltdowns from the lockdowns and so on, how did you cope?
Focusing on my self-care and staying connected to my friends and family, making sure that I still get some exercise and just be kind to myself, because it has been challenging, especially when the numbers were over 40,000 cases a day,
Wow.
which was terrifying.
Wow. And the thing is, that has a full impact on one's mental health, that space in which we exist. When you think about it, you can't detach yourself from your mind. You just live with it day in, day out, and everything invades you. And so I know while in Barbados, recently you did a study in Barbados about mental health and our care of our mental state. Tell me a little bit about that study.
Okay, so I had this research idea in 2019, and I needed to, it was something that I had wanted to do for so long. And because mental health is one of the areas I specialize in with my consultancy, 246 King Consulting, I was discussing it with a long-term friend, and she recommended Professor Devonish to collaborate with. And we just started this study, tried to fine-tune it. And then because COVID happened, then it was looking at it within the context of the COVID-19 pandemic and how that's impacting on people. So that is how it came about. And it's just been put forward to the Journal of Mental Health Training, Education and Practice under peer review. So fingers crossed, it'll be published early next year.
All right, my fingers are crossed for you as well. Looking forward to its publication. But the findings, when I read the findings coming out of your study, they themselves, caused my eyes to pop. So tell us about the findings of the study.
The majority of the respondents, as was expected, they have experienced higher levels of anxiety and insomnia. Now, insomnia doesn't mean you're not sleeping at all. It's just about sleep disruption. And also, the majority of people impacted are young people between the ages of 18 to 34, which is consistent with previous research. They're the ones experiencing higher levels of anxiety and insomnia and social dysfunction, because Barbadians, let's be real, they're not used to being confined. People roam freely. And this pandemic has kept us indoors. We're not used to that as a nation. So there was that, and also the unemployed. They are really suffering from this pandemic. Their mental health is in quite a state. So those are the major findings. But one surprising thing was that there were no gender differences. Males and females, there wasn't any big difference about levels of anxiety, which is counter to previous research, because the research says that women experience anxiety more than men, but didn't find that in this study. So that's something that's open to future research.
Interesting. And then you look at the older population as well, and retirees' response to what's been happening in their mental state as well. What did you find?
Yeah. What I found is that they reported lower levels of anxiety, insomnia, and all the other somatic symptoms, which is the physical symptoms like the joint pains and they just feeling unwell and feeling tired. But that could be because their perceptions of what is a mental health concern could be different than younger people. And also they have more time to take care of themselves and spend time with their family, and they have more support systems. So that could be part of the reason. So we do need to learn from our elders, take better care of ourselves.
Indeed, we need to. But it's the reality is that younger people see themselves to have a longer future, and they're concerned for day to day and getting there wherever there is for them. So what are some of the key recommendations coming out of the study that we can all perhaps benefit from?
Well, first off, call to action. There needs to be a national mental health policy and strategy, because the United Nations has found that only up to 2% of a national health budget goes to mental health. That is woefully inadequate. So government, please allocate a little bit more than the 2%. There needs to be more consistent public information about mental health support. Where can people find it? And what and it needs to be 24/7. It can't be 9 to 5 offering. That's just insufficient. And there needs to be psychological support services in various forms. Some people like to text, some people like to call, some people like the online social interaction, and it has to be free. In people's time of need, you cannot expect to be charging people for a service. There needs to be more community-based and workplace risk assessments for mental health issues on a regular basis. And please, please, please have special mental health support for the unemployed. They need it more than anybody else right now.
You're so right on that. How does all of this compare with what you hear coming, as you are in the UK? How does it compare?
Well, the UK has stepped it up where mental health is now part of the national health agenda. It is very much part of the conversation. They've started to normalize it. People are talking about it, and people in positions of influence are coming forward and talking about their mental health experience. And when I was talking about having support services in various forms, that's out there and it's free. And it's making a difference, because even in this pandemic, so many men, especially young men, because they're the ones at risk, are taking their lives. So there's been so much out there about what you need to do to support your friends, how to check in with people, genuinely check in to support each other, because we have been through some difficult times in the last year and a half. And as much as we say, well, we're coming out of the pandemic, life has changed.
Yes, it has
life
changed.
Has changed completely.
And even though we want it to go back to what we thought was normal, getting back there is not going to happen at all. And we have to reach a state of acceptance.
Yes.
Right.
That's very important with mental health as well. You have to accept certain things and you have to move forward in the best way that you can, which is kind of where some people aren't coping well, because they want something that no longer exists.
So, but Jolene, how are you coping though? I mean, there it is, you're in jolly old England, 16 years now, you had to adjust yourself.
Almost, yes.
So you pretty much, after 16 years, should know how to get from here to there easily. How are you coping?
I'm doing really well. My mother and I, we have our daily check-ins. We have a standing appointment, as it were. About 8:30 my time every day. She expects a phone call, and I better call.
Yes.
I check in with my family every day. We finally reopened the gyms, finally.
Oh,
so
great.
I've been back in the gym 4 days a week. I go for walks because I live near woods. So I just go take in nature. I've started buying flowers. I keep them right by my windowsill.
Beautiful.
I've started coloring. I'm doing adult coloring now, Kirsten. All sorts of little things to take care of my self-care, because it's different for everybody else. But it's just to get me through, because it's been a crazy ride.
I can imagine. But you have the strength of your mother, Jocelyn. I know Jocelyn is not going to play. She's going to keep you very grounded. Not. And I know she's watching this one. She's thinking, Pearson, behave yourself. And, but staying Beijing in the midst of it all, how is that for you?
I've never lost my identity. Well, as you can hear clearly from my accent, I keep Barbados very dear and near to my heart. I still operate in the same way. So it's never left. Because this isn't the first time I've lived outside of Barbados. I lived in the US as well, but I am 100% Bajan first and foremost. So that's what keeps me grounded.
I love it. Do you have symbols of Barbados over the house and that kind of thing? Just, a little daily reminder?
All right, I am going to admit this to you right now. You know the rollouts that you get from Woolworth that have the flag on them?
Yes.
I have one in my house. And I have a big flag. I have a small flag. The majority of my clothes are blue and yellow and black. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And that no doubt probably opens up a conversation about Barbados. And when that conversation happens, what do you say?
Have you been yet? When you plan on going? I have sent a lot of people to Barbados. Somebody might want to, hook me up with a free trip now. I have done my part. I have been a good representative wherever I've been.
I love it. You're still as crazy as ever, Jolene King. Jolene King of 246 King Consulting, indeed. Our immense pleasure seeing you this morning here on Mornin Barbados. And I really hope, I'm looking forward to the publication of your study really soon. Something tells me it is going to happen. So we're looking forward to it happening, indeed. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So great seeing her after all of these years. Jolene King, now 16 years in the UK. I'm sure a lot of you say, hey, there she is. And yes, there she is indeed. Still doing very well in the United Kingdom, with herself being the principal consultant of 246 King Consulting. We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, we'll turn our conversations to CARICOM.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 15 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock as we turn our attention to conversations on CARICOM. And as usual, we're having that conversation with His Excellency David Comishong, who is Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM. Good morning to you, Ambassador.
Good morning, Pearson. Pleasure to be here.
It's good to see you as always. It's always good to see Barbadians in different spaces doing great work. And some of those Barbadians that we hope will start to have opportunities in Africa, hopefully coming out of the upcoming Africa-CARICOM Summit. Where are we now in preparation for that, which is just a matter of days away, literally?
Yes. Well, the good news is that the date has been confirmed. It is going to take place next week, Tuesday, the 7th of September. The time schedule is 8 a.m. our time to 10:30 a.m., a 2.5-hour conversation. It's the first Africa-CARICOM Heads of Government Summit. So this is really historic. This is a big thing. This year is virtually 500 years since the commencement of the criminal transportation of enslaved Africans to the Caribbean. It's the 76th year since the historic 1945 Fifth Pan-African Congress in Manchester that brought together the political activists of Africa and the Caribbean to make that decision that the next phase in their struggle was going to be the decolonization of our two regions, you know, and that led to the federation, to independence, to the Organization of African Unity, to, you know, the Africa and the Caribbean that we know today with our CARICOM, our African Union. So after all those years, finally, the leaders of the Caribbean community countries and the African countries are going to sit down around a table, virtual though it may be, and talk face to face, talk to each other about our common origins, our common history, our common concerns, our common aspirations for the future, how we're going to collaborate, how we're going to work together. So, Pearson, this is big. I have asked the CARICOM Secretariat to ensure that this summit is telecast live on multiple platforms, including our national television stations like CBC, all across the region to our people, because this must not be something kept within the confines of governments and heads of government. This is something that must be given to the masses of the Caribbean people. So I really want the word to go out from our conversation this morning to all Barbadians and across the region, to the people of the region, that this first Africa-CARICOM Heads of Government Summit is happening, and it's just 1 week away, and hopefully it will be broadcast live to the entire region.
Mm-hmm. This is a coming together of the African Union and CARICOM. So who are some of the participants that we can expect sitting around this virtual table to share in this summit?
Well, from the list of speakers is not absolutely concretized yet, but the list that has gone out in relation to the program that exists now would include, as you would expect, our very own Prime Minister, Mayor Amor Motley, the new Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett, our first female Secretary General, Prime Minister Brown, Gaston Brown of Antigua and Barbuda. He is the current chair of CARICOM. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley of Trinidad and Tobago. He is the immediate past chair. And Prime Minister John Briceño of Belize. He is going to be the incoming chair. So those three chairs, they constitute the Bureau of CARICOM. Also, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves will speak, and the head of the Caribbean Development Bank. On the African side, we will hear from President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya. He's actually the host of the summit. And then we will hear from a number of the heavy hitters of the African Union, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo of Ghana. I'm stumbling over his name. President Paul Kagame of Rwanda, and a number of others. So it's really going to be a packed agenda. And coming out of the dialogue, we will be presented with a plan of action going forward to take forward all of the recommendations, the suggestions for collaboration that will come out of the 2.5-hour confab. So I'm expecting that this confab is going to set the stage for some kind of a link between the Secretariat of CARICOM and the Secretariat of the African Union. It is going to set the stage for working relationships between the institutions of CARICOM and the institutions of the African Union. that they're probably going to agree upon a handful of very concrete projects to be accomplished. For example, that elusive direct airline flight between Africa and the Caribbean, collaboration in relation to climate change and in relation to how we are treated by the powerful institutions of the world. There's so much that we need to work on together. Reparations, there's so much that we need to work on together in terms of a kind of Pan-Africanist agenda.
When you think of modern civilization, there's so much that has come from the motherland in Africa. And I think that this opportunity itself presents all of us, really, of the region, to look and see, to hear about those opportunities and then begin to position ourselves for those opportunities as well, I suspect.
Yes. The theme of the conference is uniting across continents and oceans, opportunities for deepening integration. This is our kith and kin. This is reuniting the family that was disrupted by that evil transatlantic slave trade. So in a sense, Kamau Brafitt, when he was a Barbados scholar, he did his education in England, then he went to Ghana and he worked for 10 years in Ghana, and he really discovered who he was as an African person from the Caribbean in Ghana. And when he came back to the Caribbean, he said, he discovered that he had not really left Africa. When he came back, he found that it was Africa in the Caribbean. And basically the insight that he got was that outside of the school, outside of the formal, official, kind of more European-centered institution, but the culture of the Barbadian people, that which came naturally to us, was what he had found in Ghana. So this is our family, and we are setting a platform for this not just to be some romantic notion of reconnection, but a very concrete reconnection. Because right now, in fact, helping to organize this summit is Barbados's ambassador in Nairobi, Kenya, High Commissioner Alex MacDonald. So Barbados we already have our diplomatic presence, our embassy in Kenya. We are soon going to finalize the embassy in Ghana. We have already selected the chargé d'affaires who will head that mission in Ghana. So we are going to be putting in place actually concrete institutional platforms that will facilitate Barbadians to go to Africa, to work in Africa, to seek out opportunities in Africa. Yeah, and there must be this two-way flow. It's not about the diaspora coming to the rescue of the African continent or vice versa. It is a mutual relationship. Right now, we have concrete evidence of it, Pearson. We have some 95 Ghanaian nurses working here in Barbados in our healthcare system. So we are not just talking the talk. We've already begun, certainly here, to walk the walk. And this meeting, we have done quite a bit so far on our own initiative. But first summit, where the top political leadership of the two regions actually sit down around the table and start talk to each other. This is going to lay the platform for so much more.
And done before us. The first, it'll be next week, Tuesday, the 7th of September. Before time gets away from me, because there's so much more coming up. And for me, before just the whole idea of Pan-Africanism really begins to live, particular one starts as well as first summit. And I know that's passion to your heart. I know.
I want to just remind Barbadians, that Barbados has such a proud history of Pan-Africanism. As soon as our ancestors accomplished the abolition of slavery in Barbados, and they became, in a sense, free agents, free to move. What is the first thing they did? The first thing they did was to organize back to Africa organizations. There was something called the Barbados Africa Colonization Society. There was another one called the Fatherland Progressive Union. And so people like London Born, Samuel Jackman Prescott, and they organized these activities for years. They couldn't get it done. Finally, in 1865, they were able to accomplish that first expedition back to Africa. They headed to Liberia, and and the rest is really history. President Arthur Barclay, a 12-year-old Barbadian boy who was on that ship, grew up to become president of Liberia. So yes. Barbados has had this this very proud history that unfortunately a lot of current day Barbadians are not aware of. But we have been in the vanguard of trying to bring about that reconnection with the African homeland. And I began by speaking about that historic 1945 Pan-African Congress in Manchester that really laid the basis for the independence of the Caribbean and Africa and so forth. The Barbados Labour Party, they sent representatives to that conference. So that's a conference that had people like Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, George Padmore, representatives of the Barbados Labour Party, and so many of the early political formations of that period. So we have a very, very proud history of Pan-Africanism, and this conference now is really taking it to the next level, where we bring together our two, in the case of Africa, it's continent-wide African Union, and in the case of the Caribbean, our regional our body, and so that we can function together. We can really make Pan-Africanism a driving force in world affairs in this 21st century.
I did not want to take my eyes off of Haiti, but the time is against me right now. So very quickly, very, very briefly and very quickly, remind us what's happening in Haiti and how we can all assist.
Well, the best way we can assist right now, and Sidima tells us the best way we can assist, is to make financial contributions to the Haiti Relief Fund 2021 that they have established at the CIBC First Caribbean Bank in Warrens, the branch in Warrens, because Haiti, the CARICOM had a meeting, our bureau had a meeting with Haiti's current Prime Minister on Friday, Prime Minister Ariel Henry, and he made it clear that they're still assessing all the damage, and they will know in a few weeks' time exactly what the damage is, what the bill is, how much help they really need. But in the meantime, Sidima has said, look, we don't want you collecting supplies to bring to us transport to Haiti. What Haiti really needs is some cash assistance. The government of Belize just gave $200,000. They donated to that fund. So those who can assist, that's the most practical way in which you can assist right now. Is on the ground in Haiti with some of its personnel, assisting with the ongoing relief. But we should know that about 120,000 homes were either totally destroyed or substantially damaged in Haiti. 120,000, 500,000 people have been affected. So we're going to have to really help Haiti to recover from this situation. And our heads have said that we are committed not just to helping them recover from this situation, but then we must go on from here to lead a long-term development program for Haiti. And this indeed we really must do. They need that assistance from us.
We'll have to continue this part of the conversation another time. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us right here on Morning Barbados in our conversations on CARICOM. Thanks again, sir.
My pleasure, Pearson. As well.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados continues with the news right after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, let's get to the news. Here's Shane Seeley.
Thank you, Pearson. With hundreds of new COVID-19 cases projected in the coming days and weeks here in Barbados, Barbadians are being told getting vaccinated can help to alter what could be a grim picture for the island. In analyzing the data, senior lecturer in epidemiology at the UWI Cave campus, Dr. Natasha Sobers, has made clear that the projections are not set in stone, but she says an improved vaccination rate here can help to avoid a worst case scenario.
These are scary numbers. And so it is not for the faint of heart. So they are actually showing you could get hundreds of cases per day if we do absolutely nothing. But then it also shows, yes, there are a lot. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So that's what we have to prepare for. But then it also shows something else. These 10% numbers on here, they're showing vaccination. Barbados is more than 10. It's more than 25. We're at 35 or so now. But we have to be shooting for this 50 mark because we can drop these hundreds numbers all the way down to this. We can, if we shoot for the 75% mark, we can again drop the numbers all the way back down to 200 being infected. So with COVID, so with our mask wearing, with our social distancing, with our restriction of movement, and last year we show that we can do this. We can reduce that worst case scenario that really people have to understand it's there. That the government is not putting these restrictions in place because they dislike you or, you know, because somebody has an agenda. The fact of the matter is that Delta has caused significant increase in infections throughout the world. It's more than taken over in terms of the UK and so on. But with vaccination, we've seen decrease in infection, but we've also seen, more importantly, a disconnect between the cases and hospitalizations. And that's the most important thing that the vaccination does. So Delta is a game changer for us. And vaccination and our public health interventions could also be game changers in terms of protecting us.
Now, what we are seeing could be the start of a third wave of COVID-19 for Barbados, and that's why BAMP, the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners, is calling for tougher protocols and measures to stem the steep rising cases. President Dr. Linda Williams says there needs to be more restrictions on movement and on gatherings.
From a purely health point of view, we're in a critical period where we are pushing to get more of the population vaccinated as a way out, but we aren't there yet. And so the measures that are taken, to my mind, at this point, have to fall more in favor of health. We don't want to go to a full strict lockdown as we were before, but we do advocate for strong measures at this point, because, you know, Shane, the situation is such that if you go slowly, right, eventually you may reach that place where you have to lock down anyway. If you go quickly, it's harsh, but you may reach the place where the end result is such that you can come out of it in a better manner, preserving as many lives as possible.
Now, close to 150 cases of COVID-19 were recorded here in Barbados over the weekend. The latest dashboard shows about 50 new cases of the virus recorded on Saturday. The 24 males and 26 females were diagnosed from 1,886 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Lab. Of the 50 new positives, 10 people are under the age of 18. There are now 230 people in isolation. Barbados has now recorded 4,931 confirmed cases of the virus since March last year. And finally, we hear that government has jump-started the plan of getting people into their own homes. The Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, Dr. William Duguid, made the revelation while addressing the St. George branch of the Barbados Labour Party last evening.
This government does not want to imagine that Christmas could come and we don't have a significant number of our brothers and sisters appropriately and adequately rehoused. And we know that it is going to be a difficult challenge. We know it is very hard to get to meet the timelines that we set ourselves, but we continue to work at it every single day. How can we improve it? We've streamlined our procurement program. We're streamlining the contract. We've gone to Parliament now to access the funds. And now all we have to do is to pull that trigger and get as many of the repairs and as many of the rebuilds done as quickly as possible.
And that's our 7 a.m. headline news for this morning. I'm Shane Seeley. Back over to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you. Our time is now 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. We'll take that break right now. And when we're back with our Crumbs question of the day after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, 9 minutes after 7 now. Time for you to call me, right? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Why? Because it's time for today's Crumbs question of the day. Time for you to become a winner. 228-5562 or 228-5563. This is today's Crumbs question of the day. Hope you did your research. What can I get from Crispy Speightstown that I cannot get from Crispy Bridgetown? What can I get from Crispy Speightstown that I just cannot get at Crispy Bridgetown? Did you do your research? 228-5562 or 228-5563. The last time we were at this question, I told you a couple callers called, they said the right things in wrong combinations. And so let's see if you can figure it all out. 228-5562 or 228-5563. What is it that I can get at Crispy Speightstown that I just cannot get at Crispy Bridgetown? You ready for me? Good morning, hello.
Hello, blessed morning to you, Pearson.
Blessed good morning to you too, ma'am. Where are you watching us from?
The beautiful parish of St. Michael.
The beautiful parish of St. Michael, she says. What's your answer for me?
We know you're partial to St. Andrew and St. Lucy.
I said, I am most partial to St. Lucy. You kidding? That's where I'm from. So, tell me, what's your answer?
Well, you can't get those beautiful smoothies that you get at Crispy Speightstown. You can't get them in Bridgetown.
How do you know that?
Because I should be one of the ambassadors for Crispy Fried Chicken and Crumbs. Because I support them always.
How do you know that you can't get those smoothies in Bridgetown and in Speightstown, but you can't get them in Bridgetown? How do you know that?
Because you can't.
How do you know that?
I won from Crispy's already, and I got the chicken from Speightstown, and I inquired about the smoothies. I never tasted them, but I know that they're in Speightstown, and the staff down there is great.
You don't answer me though.
The staff in Fairfield Street is great too, but
that's not the answer. Thank you. Here from the beautiful parish of St. Michael, dead wrong. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Time ticks by. So come on, what's the answer for me? What can I get from Crispy Speightstown that I just cannot get at Crispy's Bridgetown? 228-5562 or 63. Do you know?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, what parish are you watching from?
St. Philip.
Okay, what's your answer for me?
Coffee and ice cream.
coffee and ice cream. Why do you say so?
Why do I say so?
Why do you
I
say
heard
so?
it before. I think I heard it before.
You heard that before?
Yeah.
So you haven't found out for yourself?
Well, I heard that before, and I think it was the correct answer.
Sometimes one's ears can deceive one. You know that?
True.
So you don't think your ears were deceived in this instance?
No.
All right. You're absolutely right, Miss St. Philip. You're at what part of St. Philip are you watching from?
Harlington.
Harlington. All right, ma'am. You stay right there on the phone. Don't put down. You're absolutely correct in saying ice cream and coffee is what you can get at Speightstown that you just won't get at Bridgetown for Crispies. So she's absolutely right. Thank you so much. And that's it for today's Crumbs question of the day. We're going to take this break right now, and we are coming back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 15 and a half minutes after 7 o'clock. It is so exciting that more and more people are reading and more people are writing. And so in this next chapter, we get to meet the people behind the book, There Is More to Our Journey. That book will join me now, Mona St. Louis, as well as Denise Rogers. And Denise is the Managing Director of Rogers Holdings Incorporated. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Now, the title of the book is called There Is More to Our Journey. Mona, what does that title mean and what's the book about?
Well, the title means that when I wrote the book, My Journey, I was really kind of including everybody into that journey. The book is made up of 3 parts: my childhood, my spiritual walk, and of course, I talk about my work life, which chronicles the events that took place at CLICO when I was a sales representative for the company. And I kind of give my experiences, what transpired with the CLICO collapse.
So 2009 was a defining year for you, and so you saw your life take a different turn. But you had to pull yourself together, and in pulling yourself together, you're telling the story that there is much more to your journey. Your journey did not end. And so is that what the reader of the book will get from it?
Definitely. There is more when I say our journey, because when I chronicle my whole life story, and then help quite a few people. I mean, based on what I went through, it can be what they want to be. Because, for example, if you have that urge to write your book, because I did it, you can do it too.
Denise, what's been your role in all of this? Because you too, as a former employee of CLICO, so tell me, what's your role in this, in the publication of this book?
Well, I am simply here to support Mona in the publication of her book. She has done an outstanding job in authoring this book, and it is a book that is very inspiring. And as a friend of Mona for 30 years, I certainly can attest to her being an achiever. And so I simply am here to support her and to recognize her outstanding achievements.
An outstanding achievement indeed. And so, Mona, you know, CLICO was this colossal institution in the region. People invested their lives into CLICO. Your life was also invested in all of this. In your journey through CLICO, what is it from the book that we can glean from you about life?
The book spells out how a company, if not run on the proper rules and regulation, what can happen. It also talks about, you know, it's important that we follow the rules and regulations. It also details most of the shortfalls that created the problem of the collapse for CLICO.
So it is a book that, in your opinion, chronicles your experience and chronicles the history. Yes. But it also, you as a financial advisor, you know, there's so many people who you would have met, whose lives you would have invested in, and who would have invested in you to make their lives better, and have met better situations as well as a consequence. So is that also documented between the pages of There Is More to Our Journey?
Yes, this is also documented. It gives the pitfalls, it gives the where the company, where there was, they did not follow rules and regulations, things like that. But that is not the only thing that the book documents, because CLICO was a very good company, and it started with humble beginnings. So it also talks about the humble beginnings of CLICO, and as it moves from colonial life to CL Financial, the difficulties that came with it. And that's basically it.
A lot of times, Denise, people see the end and determine that was the sum all of an experience, but that's not true, because it had an unfortunate end, but CLICO in itself was a business. In your reading of the book, does that come through for those who may have mischaracterized the company?
In highlighting the history of Colonial Life Insurance Company Trinidad Limited, and of course CLICO International Life in Barbados and CL Financial. We, as employees in the company, management and executives, and the agents as well, we were always very, very proud of CLICO from the point of view that CLICO was, you know, able to assist many, many thousands of people in the Caribbean to build a better life for themselves and their children, to save for their golden years, and we were all very proud of that. And so the book details the history of CLICO from, as Mona said, humble beginnings, the expansion of CLICO, and people are able to, you know, to get more of the details of, you know, how CLICO evolved over the years. And I think, because what I think the book does, I mean, genres these are able to immortalize the history of the Caribbean, the history of businesses in the Caribbean, and people, you know, university students and among other people who are interested in the evolution of business will be able to use the book to catalog the history in years to come. And not only that, the book will pose as a good resource for not only for university students, but also for Mona's family, for her son Rommel, and
Mhm.
for, to categorize the history and the culture of life in the Caribbean, life in Dominica, life in Barbados. And these are the things that are important. So, yes, I believe that the history of CLICO has been written in this book. And as more of what has happened in the collapse of CLICO, this, will be highlighted in years to come.
Yes. So Mona, here you are. In 2021, you published your, is this your first publication, first of all? And if it is, how must that feel for you?
Oh, I feel excited about it. It was a really good time while I was doing it. It was hard work because I spent a lot of nights, sleepless nights, trying to put it together. It took me
Mhm.
6 months to do the book. And based on what people are telling me, what they read in the book, I feel excited about it. There are quite a few people who say, well, you know what, based on what I read in the book, I can now put whatever I went through to rest. They feel that, especially the spiritual aspect, there are different aspects of the book. So there's something for everybody who will get to read the book.
Right.
And that is the
So,
exciting part about it.
so where can we get a copy of the book so we see and hear and read all of those things that you're talking about?
Yeah. So Pearson, I have not signed any contract as yet with any um, bookstores in Barbados. Why? Because most people are working virtually, and those contracts have not been signed. But you can call me. On my cell 8309937, or you can send me an email message on monasentry@gmail.com, and a book will be delivered for you. Once you want the book, it will be delivered, and then further down we will tell the persons where the book will be obtained at the bookstores in Barbados.
Right, so for right now, it's available for pre-orders. And to do so, we
Yes.
can call you on the numbers we would have seen on our screen. If you could just bring that back up so
Yes.
people can see it yet again. The numbers to call to pre-order are 830-9937. 830-9937. Or you can send the author of the book, There's More to Our Journey, Mona St. Louis, and the email, monastlouis@gmail.com. And you can find her on Twitter as well, mona.stlouis. The author of the book, There Is More to Our Journey. I'd like to thank you, Mona St. Louis, and Denise Bonjiri Rogers, as well of Rodgman Holdings, for joining us this morning, and great success in your journey with the release of this book. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, personally, I just want to say one thing. I would like to encourage all those persons who have been dreaming about writing their books, or any desires of that they have. I would like them to go for it with that hunger in their belly. If I can do it, you can do it too. The only thing that is stopping you is you.
Amen. If she can do it, we can all do it too. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. 25 after the hour, Morning Barbados is back with more after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
I spoke to you when we began about us building a more inclusive society. That inclusion starts now as we begin to turn our attention to the whole subject of blind football. Imagine that. And so joining us this morning to talk about that is Gail Hunt, who is a volunteer with the National Society for the Blind here in Barbados, and Pedro Belgrave, who is an executive floor member of the National Society for the Blind. Good morning, both of you. Are they there with me? Gail Hunt and Pedro Belgrave. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about that because coming up in October, there's going to be a big event. And so they're looking for support from corporate Barbados and anyone who has the capacity to give that support as well. So we want to look a little bit about that. But I'm sure you're asking the question, but how do blind people play football? How do they see the goal bars? How do they know that 10 men are charging towards them? How do you know? How do you navigate the field? How did you know that you didn't go over a particular line and gone offside? Or I don't know. All of those kinds of things we'd like to talk about that as well, as we continue to include others into our society in the way we do what we do. So there they are now, Gail Hunt and Pedro Belgrave. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Hi,
good morning, person.
Good, thank you for joining us. Blind football is what we're talking about here. Let's start with you, Pedro, as the executive floor member for the National Society for the Blind. Football. You know, when I think about it, that's a little different. So tell me how it's played.
Okay, it's played in normal football. We play on a field, AstroTurf. It's 20 feet by 40 feet. We have the game is played with 5 persons per side. We also have, in terms of the boundary lines, where they, as we can't see the ball is full with bells. The ball have bells in it, so we hear when the ball is coming, so we can navigate where the ball is. Also, they have sideboards which stretch the length of the field, so we cannot, the ball will not go out of bounds too far. It will not go out of bounds. These sideboards are placed at the side of the field, as I said before.
Right.
So the ball does not go out of bounds.
Okay. So once you get to a sideboard, you know that you're at the sidelines, and so much you stay within the game. Now, that's all right to have the bells and the ball. I get that. I could hear it coming towards me, so I'm good. How would I know that I've got 2 other men charging towards me at the same time?
Like normal football, we use our voices to say where we are, right? Because in normal football, you can tell by the person's thoughts. We will use our voices to say where the person, where to pass the ball, where we are. So that is how we navigate.
By sound.
I guess. Yeah, by sound.
All right. Is this how popular is this sport in Barbados? So blind football. Do you have a lot of people playing?
No, right now is now coming to the region. The IPSA Foundation, the International Blind Sports Foundation, which is based in Europe, they are looking at bringing it to the region. They're looking at bringing it to the region. They have invited 10 countries through the region, and to start this workshop, they're asking for each territory, each country, to send 3 persons, a coach, a referee, and a player, to learn about the game. The workshop will be held in Barbados from October 25th to the 30th of October. So
right,
we have so far received confirmation from about 8 countries that are willing to come to this workshop, but we have reached out to at least 10 so far.
All right. So here it is now. That's fine. And so this event is coming up in October, Gail. This is where you come in now, because you're volunteering with the National Society for the Blind. And so we're trying to whip up support for this. So tell us how we can all contribute to the success of this upcoming tournament.
Yeah, so good morning to everybody again. Yeah, we're trying to, as you would have said at the very beginning, kind of like generate an interest and also to get corporate Barbados to support us. It's really important if we're going to have an inclusive society that extends to sports as well for persons with disabilities. So they can contact the National United Society for the Blind. They can also contact the Barbados Council for the Disabled, and they can lend their support, in whichever way that they can, basically. We're looking to raise, IBSA are giving us, some kind of financial support, but as an independent organization, the society would like to kind of like also raise their own funds for things like the backboards, for the hotel accommodation, various different things that we may need support for. So that's really it in a nutshell in terms of the corporate side.
So if I want to give my support, I contact the National Society for the Blind and make my financial support there. Is that the only avenue I'm hearing you to say?
No, they can also contact the Barbados Council for the Disabled.
Okay.
The Barbados Paralympic Association is involved, but they're an affiliate partner, so they would really need to contact the National United Society for the Blind and the Barbados Council for the Disabled.
Right.
They both have social media presence, so people can contact them that way and just write a check, basically, make a donation whichever they feel that they're able to.
All right. So Pedro, how is it in terms of getting the team together, though? Are people coming forward, and are you at different levels of sight to be a part of the team?
Yes. When the game is played with visually impaired persons or totally blind persons, the referee and the coaches, they'll be sighted. So the team is coming together pretty decent right now. We are looking at, we have a number of persons showing interest in Barbados, blind and visually impaired persons showing interest in participating in the workshop. Because after the workshop, they are hoping that we can form a sort of competition. And as the National United Society logos slogan say, there's life after blindness. So we are trying to be all inclusive in all type of sports as disabled or blind persons in Barbados. We are trying to, with the help of the Paralympic Association, so we're hoping that we can get this, the workshop pull off and it be a success. After that, as I said, we were looking at holding a, after everyone, those who attend the workshop, they will have to, they're supposed to go back to their country and set up blind football in their country so that the International Blind Sports Organization can then assist us in hosting tournaments throughout the country, throughout the Caribbean.
Right. Do you yourself, Pedro, play football?
Well, I used to. I'm still also involved in football. I'm blind, but I'm still also involved in football. I used to play with Nascimento Football Club in St. Andrew. I'm from St. Andrew. I still involved in St. Andrew Lions Football Club. We are playing at the highest level of football in Barbados right now. I am the technical director for the youth arm of our club. I'm also on the executive of our senior team. I'm on the management for the senior team. So I was involved in football now for a number of years. Years.
You're a busy man. You're a very busy man. I really want to encourage everyone, join with you, Gail and Pedro, to encourage everyone to lend your support. This activity is coming up in October, but you can call the National United Society for the Blind to find out more about how you can get involved and how this tournament will unfold as well. And then actually we'll be tracking it with you, so do reach back to us and in any way that we can help, let's try to help you as well. So Gail Hunt and Pedro Belgrave, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yes, and I just quickly thank the Samuel Jackman Prescott Polytechnic, the Football Association, the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture, and the Ministry of Elder Affairs and Empowerment, who we've reached out to and we're collaborating with as well.
Great, that's fantastic to hear.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Hello, also after that, the Hockey Federation, they have reach out to we thank them for their sponsorship also, the Hockey Federation.
All right, great. Got to leave it right there. Thank you so much, both of you. Have yourselves both a good day. We're back with more after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
21 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock as we continue our look at being inclusive. And as you know, Barbados does have a contingent at the Paralympics ongoing. And so this morning we're joined by Martin Jackman, who is the president of the Barbados Paralympics Association, David Stiron, who is with the International Blind Sports Federation, and Ulrich Pfisterer, who is the chairman of the International Blind Sports Federation's Football Committee. Gentlemen, quite a lot. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Pearson. How are you today?
Doing well today. How do you all do?
Pretty good.
Good to have you. So here we are, Martin. We have a team at the Paralympics, and we have a team that's doing very well at the Paralympics. It must mean so much to you that our team is there and our team is performing.
Yes, it means a lot to me. It means a lot. I believe it means a lot to Barbados too, to know that we are being represented at this level, at this stage. And I'm very happy to be here. And there's a lot that we can gain and a lot that we are experiencing here that we want to share with you. And as you see, I'm here with my good friend David and Ulrich on the other side. And who will want to share with you what we are planning on doing in come October in terms of introducing blind football to Barbados.
Right. So, as it's called your name, David, let's talk a little bit about that. You're with the International Blind Sport Federation, and that sounds to me as though it's a federation that's all-encompassing of blind sport, of which football is a part. Why the interest in going into including football now? And how popular is it really as a sport for blind?
Yes, of course. A very good evening from Tokyo. Good morning to everyone there in Barbados. Yeah, IBSID, International Blind Sports Federation, is a multi-sport federation. And actually here at the Paralympic Games, we have 3 sports on the program. We have judo, we have goalball, and of course we have blind football, a very exciting tournament going on here right now. And the IBSA covers sport for people who are both totally blind and partially sighted. So we do development work all over the globe, and we have gone to many parts of the world. We do a lot of development work in Europe and Central Asia, recently in Central America, and we wanted to take blind football to the Caribbean. We have been fortunate to receive some funding from the International Paralympic Committee and to find a fantastic local partner, the Paralympic Association of Barbados, led by Martin, and other local partners like Guyana-UAE, with Gail, with Pedro, and with other partners in Barbados. And we are very much looking forward to taking blind football to the Caribbean and to having representative delegations from several of the countries in the region to kick off the sport in the region.
Ulrich, sitting on the football committee, though, how popular really is it? Talk to me about crowd support from those different venues that you know, and how our tournaments really run across the world.
Yes, well, we are. I didn't quite acoustically get the beginning of what you said, what your question was. Can you please repeat that?
Yes, I want to hear from you about getting the teams. How are the tournaments run, and what's the level of support in terms of crowd support to blind football across the world?
Well, I've been for 8 years now chairman of IPSA Blind Football, and we have an incredible number of countries now. I think we're up to 70, 80 countries now playing blind football in the world, and the tournaments are running extremely professional. We have more and more crowds. We had in Rio, the last Paralympics, we had 5,000 people. We would have had in Tokyo now, if Corona wouldn't have been affecting us, we would have had 3,000-4,000 people here easily, and we're looking for ever increasing numbers. First of all, let's not forget it's football, and football is the sport in the world, as everybody knows. I know we have a lot of very other popular sports, like you have cricket too, and all sorts of things, but football is the one. And blind football, everybody asks, yeah, how can that work? And I'm getting, of course, anybody who'd ask me, taxi drivers and whatnot, I said, just Google, and you just shown snippets of a match in Rio between Brazil and Morocco. It is a fascinating sport, and first of all, it's football, and blind people playing it, it's just amazing, and anybody who's seen it the first time is absolutely mesmerized by it and wants to come back again. And I was told they're building actually a stadium right under the Eiffel Tower for Paris 24, and I was told there should be 20,000 people. Hard to believe, but wow, it is an incredible popular sport.
That's fantastic to hear. Now, David, you know, people hear this and they're thinking, you know, I'd want to see it because they think it's a gimmick. But it's taken very seriously. Let's talk a little bit about the same level of inclusivity that we've been talking about, that blind people are not a gimmick. I want you to make that point very solidly for me.
Of course, as Ulrich said, this is not a gimmick. This is a sport. This is football for people who happen to be blind or partially sighted. And it's very much a competitive sport. It's very much a competitive game. We have Spain and Argentina playing a fast and furious game here. There are fouls, there are free kicks, there are well, all sorts of incidents, and well, sometimes we even have injuries, just like any other type of football. So yeah, we need to highlight that. It can be played recreatively. It can be played at grassroots level. Excuse me. You can train just for enjoyment, but at the highest level, and as Ulrich said, we have around 70, 80 countries playing the game worldwide. Our top countries in our world ranking, they are professionals or semi-professionals. They are players who train intensively. They have all been at training camps for 3 or 4 weeks before coming to the Paralympic Games here, and I can assure you it's anything but a gimmick. It's fascinating, exciting, fast-moving, fast-paced, fantastic sport.
Wow, you're making me excited myself to come watch for real, because you know, at any given time anyone can find themselves with impairment of the sight and eventually blindness, and the whole point is you don't give up. If football is your skill, there's an outlet for you to continue playing your favorite game, even though you are blind. So this is great to hear. Now, Martin, we've seen your journey right through life, really, as you've cared for your son, and just knowing that all of these opportunities are now available for people with any form of impairment. You know, let's talk a little bit about you and what this all means to you, that these opportunities are now becoming available for people who are differently abled.
Well, it means a lot for me. It means a lot to me in a very special way, because I've seen these opportunities are being given, or we are trying to give these opportunities to people in Barbados, or persons with disabilities in Barbados, so that they be able to fulfill their potential in whatever sports that they are involved in. This is one of the many projects that we are working on. We are working also on a Paralympics project, which should be launched sometime next year. We are also working to increase the number of sports that are available to persons with disabilities in the country. It is necessary that people with disabilities have the opportunity to be able to participate in sporting activities just like anyone else. We are always talking about all inclusive in sports, all inclusive in education, and we need to be able to lift the local community up by giving these opportunities. And basically, that's what we would like to do, and that's what I intend to do, and my team within the Paralympics Association intend to do, provide these opportunities for persons to be able to get potentials.
That is so well said. We got to leave it there, gentlemen, but I'm looking forward excitedly to the upcoming activities for blind football, the opportunities for people who are blind to still engage in a very significant way and do us all very proud. So Martin, David and Ulrich, thank you gentlemen for joining us this morning. As I said to our previous guests, we're available if you need some further assistance in sensitizing people about what's happening as well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're back with more after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
As you see, that's what we're about right now, introducing you to one young lady who is making it from home. Her name is Monisha Durbij. Good morning to you, Monisha.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you for joining us. I was reading your story, and you said sometime around 2020 you were in search of your spirituality. What started that?
Yes, actually, I came across spirituality after, well, maybe before my dad got sick. I was just trying to find like a way to like take my mind off of things, and I stumbled upon it. So then I started to dive more into it, and here I am today.
Because in diving further into it, you found a love for crystals and, as you say, the law of attraction. So there must be something about those that made you think, crystals. What do crystals do, and what do they all mean? Do they all mean for all of us?
Well, for me, I just like crystals because they give off this energetic vibe, and it's also really pretty. It's very eye-catching. You can have it around in your home. You can have it by your bedside table. It's just something to keep. It's something that I like to have around me. So when I realized that I could keep crystal with me and, you know, just have it there, it was something that I really liked learning about. Also, knowing about their properties and whatnot was something that really kept me on the go. You know, like knowing that they do this and they have this energetic property. It's like, you know, it keeps you, I want to know more.
And now you've turned it all into a business. And so therefore, you have a business called Chakra Planet. Tell me about the business.
Yes, I do. Well, Chakra Planet is a combination of the things that I love. So that would be crystals and candles. And I also love DIYing things. So I like being hands-on and I like assembling products. So for me, knowing that I could assemble one product with raw materials, it was something that, I wanted to do it. So I combined crystals and candles, and I just created crystal candles. But then I also dived deeper into creating necklaces and jewelry. So that's where I'm at right now.
And here we're watching on the screen some of your work from your Instagram page, that you're creating these, putting the crystal as pendants onto the necklace. And we can see it.
Yes.
So we have the ruby, the garnet, the larimar. So each of them having different properties?
Yes, each of them have different properties. So for me, my favorite would be rose quartz because it promotes love and, it attracts love into your life, whether it be friendship, romance, like all aspects of love. But for me, I use it for self-love because self-love is something that everyone should have with them at all times.
These are so beautiful. They're so light, but they're full of energy as you see it.
Yes.
And all of this you did because you wanted to help.
Yes, I wanted to help. It's really a fun experience because you get to be hands-on. I get to drill the crystals. I get to put them through. It's just something about creating that keeps me going.
Is it a case where we call and you customize it for us, or are they just mass-produced and you say, okay, I'll take that one, and this one?
No, I actually do them in small batch. So I'd make about 10 candles each batch, and I'd make about 10 necklaces each batch. So they're really small batches.
And are these candles now that you just mentioned fragrant? Do they emanate a particular fragrance?
Yes, my best seller is actually a candle called Self Love, and the fragrance is grapefruit and mint, and it actually sparkles when you light it.
Oh, nice. That sounds interesting, the combination of grapefruit and mint. You heard my reaction. Like, that should smell really glorious.
It smells really good. Like every customer would be like, okay, I'll take this one. Oh wait, no, I'll take Self Love. They just can't decide.
So you have self-love. Talk to me a little bit about that. So this is a self-love you're talking about. It comes in the jar, and once you light it, then it emanates that fragrance. Is this the only? You have self-love, and what else do you have?
I have self-love, and I also have another candle called Breathe, because in this pandemic, it's like, there's so many happening around us. Sometimes you just want to sit back and breathe. So that was based on, something personal as well. So the two main candles for my business would be Self-Love and Breathe.
And Breathe. How has it been going though, now that you're operating Chakra Planet? What's been the response, and how are you coping with this building business?
Well, actually, it was I'm not gonna lie, it was hard at first because we're in a pandemic and there's so many things happening around you and you have to balance each and every other thing along with it. But so far, I've only launched about 3 weeks ago and the response has been great. So that's basically fueling me right now.
Right. But even in the pandemic, people just can't walk up as they would like to, or as you would like them to be able to come and say, I'm taking this. So do you have a delivery service as well included in your offer?
Actually, there is, but mostly I've been doing like pop-up shops. So I've only been to like 3 pop-up shops, and that's where majority of my sales come from, those pop-up shops.
That's fantastic. Is this, you found yourself now because you're a clinical med student, and here it is now, you're doing business, and while there's a little bit of science in it, it is not your particular area of study. So how is it balancing both?
Well, it's something that I love doing, so there's nothing really to balance because, there's still a chemical aspect with it. You have to know which temperature to add your fragrances. You have to know how they bond. So it's, it's along the line, but it's something that I love doing. Like I said, I like DIYing. I like knowing that I can make something from scratch and produce like this amazing product. So yeah, that's basically it for me.
You're in your 20s, and did you at any time while a teenager dream that you would have been the owner of your own business?
Actually, yeah, I have been dreaming since I was a teenager, yes, but never in this business, niche. I never thought I'd be, maybe I'll do a business with crystals. It was something, other things. It just didn't occur to me that I would be the owner of Chakra Planet, crystals and candles. Wow. It's just something that I stumbled upon and I can't stop loving it.
And I just can't stop loving it. I love the fact that you just can't stop loving it. What you've created, what we've seen so far, just look really, really good. And I want to make sure that people know how to avail themselves of it. So tell us how we can get those products for ourselves.
Well, I do have a Twitter page and Instagram page as well. It's chakra.planet. That's it. Just chakra.planet. You can put it in the search bar and it pops right up. Simple,
Simon. It's good to go. And they look to me as though they're very affordable as well. I see the price points are affordable. So for anyone who is looking for that calmness, a very eco-friendly handcrafted art in Barbados, it's available at chakra.planet on Instagram and on Twitter as well. So like the page, and is this the way we can communicate with you? Monisha?
Hi, I'm here.
Right, so is this the way that we can connect with you via Instagram?
Yes, via Instagram or my Twitter account. It's also Chakra Planet.
All right. How are things now for your home? I didn't want to go into the personal story, but just out of, concern, is everything settling down somewhat?
Yeah, it's settling. The only reason I'm going forward right now is my business. My business actually keeps me going because it's been hard grieving in a pandemic. Like, you have to worry about everything else, and now you have to grieve on top of that and balance full-time school.
You're going to do well, Monisha. I could see it in your stars already.
Thank you.
Monisha Durbij, thank you so much. Chakra.planet is the business. All the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. And that's it for today, everybody. Thank you for having us in your homes as well. Should God spare life, we'll be with you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.